Welcome into the DNVR Avalanche podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Use code DNVR when you sign up for a new account to get amazing odds boosts every single day. Rudo, AJ, Jesse coming at you live on the Avalanche off day in round one. We'll get into all of the round one action throughout the show, talk about the fun series, the not so fun series, where things kind of stand. But first, we do have some news of the day to get to. First of all, Jesse, I know you were in on the Jared Bednar show today. Alex Newhook conversation, and as well as other things. What stood out to you?
Yeah, so first and foremost, kind of guess the one news thing, maintained Andrew Cogliano day to day. They're going to kind of just take it one day at a time, see how he's feeling. He didn't outright say this, but this is one of those things where I don't expect Andrew Cogliano to play tomorrow as well as he played yesterday. Scored the shorthanded goal. Why would you? You've got three forwards sitting in the press box. Give Cogliano the night off. Let him rest up, feel better. So he did still say he's day to day. But someone asked Jared Bednar last night in media availability just what kind of went into the Newhook thing, and he kind of brushed over it. And Rudo, I mentioned on the pod last night, it's not a great setting to bring it up. So I wanted to ask him today, and I asked him. I said, look, I know you've said that you guys are going to need everybody. That entire bottom six, there's a good chance that almost all of those guys are rotated in and out. But can you just kind of walk us through the thought process of why Alex Newhook? And what I thought was so interesting about the answer was that Jared Bednar, and I'm paraphrasing a bit here, essentially said that he doesn't necessarily look at his forward group as a group of 12, but more of, I have guys who are competing for jobs on the top line. And I have guys who are competing for jobs on the second line, third line, fourth line. And they aren't all necessarily competing with each other. So he said, he goes, there's going to be a lot of people that look at this and say, Alex Newhook played all season. He was great. Now, why is he getting this scratch? Why wouldn't you just move him down to the fourth line if you're really wanting Abe-Kubel there on that third line? And he basically said, because Alex Newhook isn't a fourth line player. He doesn't do what we want our fourth liners to do. He said they do stuff that Alex Newhook, doesn't really do in the same way that he does stuff that some of the fourth liners can't do. So it was an interesting answer to me because I think that is something that we have talked about where, the bottom six, we've kind of lumped them all together. But what Jared Bednar was saying was like, Alex Newhook is right now a part of our third line and kind of like the fill-in on that second line. Those are the guys he's competing for jobs with, not Andrew Cogliano, not Darren Helm. So we pulled him out of the lineup. He said that he saw some stuff, I think specifically out of Abe-Kubel, that he liked a little bit better for this matchup last night. But again, he did right, which is exactly what you had said yesterday when we were at morning skate, AJ. And he reiterated Alex is going to get his shot in the lineup, but in the weeks leading up for that third line, there was just some other guys that we liked what they did better for what we were looking for out of that line last night. I just thought the perspective of you have guys competing on each line that aren't necessarily competing across lines. I just thought that was a really interesting philosophy and helped make a little bit more sense of the Newhook scratch yesterday, which honestly I was surprised by.
Okay. Still a little bit weird to me, I think, but getting an explanation, there is some sense to it. I'm sure, again, as everyone has said at this point, Newhook will get games in these playoffs, as will Logan O'Connor and Neon.
Well,
Logan O'Connor probably will get in tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciated him elaborating on it because, especially at this time of year, it'd have been really easy for him to be like, look, we've said everyone's going to get in. Last night it was Newhook's night to sit out. He could have very easily just brushed it off, but I appreciated him giving that little bit of insight that, again, the way he explained it, to your point, Rudo, I don't know. That still wasn't something that I had penciled in, but it helps at least make a little bit more sense of the situation.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely angle of where that is coming from. The other thing I wanted to talk about, AJ did a video breakdown, film room. Go look at that if you're a DNVR Avalanche member or a member of the website. If you're not, you can go sign up right now to go look at all of our ridiculous amounts of content that we're posting for the playoffs, which it's a lot. Highly recommend you go check all of that out. AJ, we were talking about it just before the show. You pointed out the number one thing for you was the aggressive blue line of defense for Nashville. So I am curious what your thoughts are on potential adjustments in the series.
Yeah, coming into the series, I put it in my series preview that went up yesterday morning before we got started. But the Nashville and Colorado are both two teams that really like to hard defend zone entries. They prefer to stop the offense before it gets into the zone. I was curious how that was going to go against Colorado, a team that likes to play in transition, a team that likes to play with as much speed as the Avs do. And last night it went very, very poorly. You saw, I think, 3 of their goals came with multiple of their defenders trying to hold the blue line and the Avs just dipping around them. I mean, like, Josh Manson walked around a couple of guys from the neutral zone because they were trying to aggressively defend the blue line. And that's the downside, is that if you try and stand them up, you try and deny right like that, you're going to be flat-footed, and the Avs are going to get behind you, and that's going to create odd man rushes and high danger scoring chances. It's exactly what happened, and the Avs cashed in multiple chances. I mean, the Devon Taves goal is a perfect example of it, because they were defending at the blue line, and Rantanen just chips the puck past their defense, and Devon Taves goes and gets it.
Nobody back there. Yep.
Yeah. And he just walks in with a good angle. It's a great shot, but it's just like, if they don't slow you up in the neutral zone and defend that blue line effectively, this is the downside of that strategy.
For me, it's just how punishing the Avs are with their consistency of a defenseman jumping up into the play. And it's just that extra body coming through the blue line that I don't think Nashville was prepared for at all in jumping into this series.
How's that possible?
So
I don't understand, but
I was just about to bring. Are you guys still hearing an echo from me?
No,
by the way,
it's better now.
Okay, all right. I was saying, because I was hearing one from everyone, and I was like, oh, it must just be quirky thing on the back end. But so glad it's better. Agent, that right there is exactly my thing, because we've seen not just Nashville last night, but we've seen teams do this against the Avs all year. Really, really aggressive puck pursuit. And it's gone well maybe once. Of all the teams that tried it this year, that really aggressive, activating, jumping up. I can't remember who it was, just about a month ago. I mean, they were sending 2.5 forecheckers deep into the Avs zone below the dots. And then Nashville last night, like you said, jumping up at their own blue line like that. I was going to ask the question until you just said it. What film were they looking at?
Well, seriously, because this is really not that dissimilar from what Pete DeBoer and the teal picket fence from that Shark series, right? This is a tried and true. This is how NHL coaches regularly try and stop aggressive teams in transition, and this is fine. But first of all, Nashville doesn't have the personnel to do that. They don't have the kind of defenders that can hang with Colorado with their speed and skill. And it's a really weird decision, and I'll be curious to see what this looks like tomorrow, because I think that they're going to try and put a lot more pressure on the puck itself to force them to give it up versus letting that guy kind of do what he wants in the neutral zone and then trying to react from there.
No offense to Josh Manson, full offense to the Nashville Predators. When Josh Manson is casually walking through your offensive zone, you've got a problem.
There was in the third period last night, there was a point where I even said to D-Mac sitting next to me, I said, when Josh Manson is styling on you, you need to get this game over with.
Yep. It got a little bit ugly.
And I say that, but first of all, I took a lot of heat at the end of the year from some people because I was like, I think Josh Manson has fit great in Colorado.
Fantastic.
And I think he was awesome last night. He did not get an assist on the Lehkonen goal, but that goal starts with Josh Manson outweighting a forechecker, making a quality play with the puck up the wall. And then Landeskog and Kadri make the plays from there. And then again, I don't know how you let Arturi Lehkonen literally skate in a straight line and somehow end up behind everybody. But okay, but that play starts with good work from Josh Manson, getting out of the zone, getting out of their own zone, with a little bit of pressure. It wasn't like they were smothering him or whatever, but I'm telling you, this Gerard Manson thing is going to be a huge part of however this goes for Colorado. Last night it obviously looked fantastic. That's the high mark. But there's, there will be tough nights.
This sums up the Predators defense.
Yes, dude, this one just killed me. I was laughing so hard I watched that on like 10 different loops last night. Cracked me up. Because seriously, that was honestly how it looked. That first period, everyone moving at that speed too, not all that inaccurate. Like you said, Arturi Lehkonen skated straight through to a breakaway.
Just skated in a straight line, and the guy did things with the puck, and you're just like, what?
The Lehkonen,
how do you let that happen?
Kadri doesn't even make a very good play. He just kind of pushes it to open ice, and there's nobody around.
He sees it at the blue line. All right, I've got it. I've got a guy on me. I just need to put this in space because my guy is flying through center ice, and their guy is literally standing still. It was just you could just see. That wasn't the first, that wasn't the last case where things like that happened last night, but just the way that Colorado, I think if you were trying to draw a positive from Nashville's side last night, Connor Ingram was it. And that comes with a caveat, especially when your starting goaltender was 14th on your team in ice time. That's never a good sign. I do think that the rest of that, though, you need major adjustments, and this whole we're just gonna pound on them and we're gonna beat them up and we're gonna slow them down. Colorado's depth last night kicked the holy shit out of Nashville.
So, AJ, I was talking to someone last night about St. Louis, Minnesota game 1, and I was telling them, I was like, St. Louis looked like a team that prepared, showed up to the rink with a game plan, executed, and knew exactly what they wanted to limit from Minnesota and knew exactly where they wanted to expose them. And Minnesota looked like they showed up and said, we're going to go out there, skate as fast as we can, run into everybody, and shoot as hard as you possibly can shoot. That was kind of what last night looked like to me as well. And you kind of just hit the nail on the head there where Nashville really did to me. And I'm sure they didn't do this, and this is probably just a little bit of an oversimplification. But it looked like they, in the locker room, hey guys, no need to do the film. We're just going to go out there and skate, trap in the neutral zone, and bang bodies. And we're going to get our chances. Once we play physical, we'll get them off their game. Nashville really, for the first half of that game, didn't look like they had a game plan put together that they were trying to execute. They really just looked like they were out there hoping for the best. And the Avs looked prepared. Not only did they just look superior in pretty much every part of the ice, they looked prepared. They looked like they knew what they were expecting Nashville to do, and how they were expecting Nashville to play them, what they were expecting out of Nashville's offense, and just shut it down at every turn. And it's going to be really interesting because I don't know if Nashville can make any adjustment. Right. Like I just don't know if they can.
It was weird that there was a lot of I was curious how things were from Nashville's point of view. And there was a lot of like, well, if you forget the first period, it was a 2-2 game. And I'm like, okay, but the final shot tally was 45-25.
In the third period, the Avs outshot them 17-8.
Right. Where are you drawing on? And look, tomorrow Nashville is going to play significantly better.
Of course,
they're going to look like a team that belongs in the playoffs. They're going to look like a coherent team. They're going to have a pushback. That I say this all the time, but game one is where all the weird stuff happens.
Yeah.
So
even if it is predictable weird stuff sometimes.
I was gonna say, don't you think just a little bit though that, because I agree with you, game one is where you see a lot of that stuff, but that seemed like a little bit of an overwhelming moment for the Preds. And I think tomorrow will be even more interesting because you have those moments within playoff series every now and then where you can just tell that a team is kind of defeated. That had to be a little bit of a wake-up call for Nashville, though. Like, hey, they talked about it in their morning availability. Oh, no one's giving us a chance, blah, blah, blah. Well, you kind of saw last night why no one's giving you a chance.
Right. Again, all this talk about bulletin board material, it's like, okay, right. Did you guys forget the bulletin board in Nashville?
Right.
Like, what?
We forgot to load it up on the plane before we left.
The one thing I will say there, in a hockey game where they get a few saves to start off from Rittich or Ingram, whoever they decide to start in game two, which is a real question, I think. In a game where they get a few saves, I think they'll get a little bit more comfortable because it was just a barrage.
Sure. Here, absolutely. But
yes, in a world where different things happened, a different scenario would have existed.
No. But of those first four, at least the fifth one, the Arturi Lehkonen one, you get beat 5-hole. I think that's a nice shot. Kind of postures like he's going to make a move, and then just snaps it on. But of those first four,
yeah, they're great shots. And
which one of those are you like, oh, David Rittich has to have that?
My thing is
the third, the shorthanded goal.
If they get a few saves, I think they're competitive. I'm not saying they're going to be winning the game.
Yeah, I mean 2-0, you're obviously still in the hockey game. And it changes the complexion of it totally. And I think that's where okay, series on at that point. But
so and even going back to the third one, I disagree. He made the first save. Brutal turnover.
Sent himself to Narnia, though.
15 feet in front of the net.
Oh, Matthias Ekholm was totally brutally bad last night. I thought he might have been their worst player. And Matthias Ekholm can't be one of their worst players.
Right.
And Roman Josi can't be a no-show. And I don't think he will be for the rest of the series. But for one game anyway, Cale Makar just stuffed the Norris into his locker. He was like, no. It's a good thing that those votes were due 2 days ago.
Yeah, a lot of people voted Roman Josi won and went, oh boy.
Sure hope this changes.
Yeah. We are brought to you by Breckenridge Brewery. They're your hometown craft beer of the Colorado Avalanche, and they're celebrating this historic season by giving away 2 playoff tickets to every Avalanche playoff home game. If you want to go to an Avs home game in the playoffs, Breck Brew is your place to go. Nominate a stellar community member and Avs fan who should get the chance to celebrate a playoff game this season. Each home game, we'll hook up a fan and a friend with tickets, gear to match, and of course, the drink of the season, an Avalanche Amber Ale. Breckenridge Brewery will also donate a portion of all proceeds of sales of Avalanche Ale through the playoffs to the Community Fund Boulder County to benefit the Marshall Fire victims. You can visit breckbrew.com to nominate a community star and send them to an Avs playoff game. Get over there. Go get yourself some Breck Brew. Go get yourself some Avs playoff tickets. They're dope. Go get the new shirt we got with Howler on it. It's dope. Everything is dope from Breck Brew. They're absolutely awesome all the way around. There you go. There's the Howler shirt with the Avalanche Amber Ale on it. Absolutely amazing stuff.
I tried to get one last night. They're not in stock yet, but the minute they drop, get my grimy little mitts on one. Yep.
Yeah, if you're online, you can pre-order. Like you can get them in before everybody else can get their hands on them. So jump on that. Go get that. Also, for round one, if you are local here in Denver, Avaca TV has the first round of the playoffs for you. You can watch altitude and watch the Avs do things like beat Nashville 7-2. So go jump on that. They also have national channels. So when hockey's on ABC, you can watch it there. Of course, you can watch Nuggets when they're back. You can watch Broncos on the national channels. You can watch the Rockies on Rocky Mountain Sports Network. I guess it's AT&T Sports Network now. Go jump on it. Get in all of that. Watch all your sports through Avaca TV. Just $15 a month for the first 3 months. So jump on it. Be sure to go to avaca.tv/DNVR. Let them know we sent you over there. It's cheaper than DirecTV or cheaper than Comcast. It actually has things like altitude. You just hook it up right to your TV. You don't have to get computers involved or anything like that. So super easy, super dope. Go check out Avaca TV today. Also a great time to sign up for our DNVR YouTube. Like and subscribe, do all that good stuff. Likes help us get into the algorithm. It sends it to new people. We get new Avs fans in here watching, and it's one big party every time the Avs win in the playoffs. So jump on all of that. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Avs game was super fun last night. Don't think anyone's denying that one. Not even close to the best hockey game of the night.
Rudo, I have recently I have been going through some retail therapy.
Oh, baby.
And I've been buying up some things here and there. One of the things that I bought some bees.
Like flying around
honeybees? Yeah. So I bought a dozen bees, but when they showed up, I had 13 of them. And I was like, hey, guy, I got 12 bees. Why do I have 13? You know what this guy said to me?
What did he say?
He said, it's a freebie.
Ha ha! Got him.
All right, I was sitting there, I was like, did this motherfucker really buy a dozen honeybees? I was like, I don't know if you're at all equipped to handle those. Like, I feel like there's like bee care maintenance.
Thought for sure that was a Manscaped read.
I did too. And then when he said, do you know what he said to me? I was like, uh-oh, is this Manscaped?
Yeah. Okay.
It's a day off, man.
The New York Rangers-Pittsburgh game went to triple overtime last night. Pittsburgh wins it despite losing Casey to Smith. Shesterkin got to 79 saves total, correct? That was the final tally? Or
somehow only the second most saves in an NHL debut in history.
Ridiculous. But the only game of game ones to go to the overtime there was what do you do if you're New York in that series? Because Shesterkin gave you every opportunity to win that game, and you just didn't.
Well, it should also be mentioned that they got run out of the building and would have been mopped up well before overtime if it wasn't for Igor Shesterkin.
The thing is, I think people expected that. They know the Rangers aren't very good besides Shesterkin, but damn.
But I mean, like, honestly, that wasn't like the fact that they even got that far, they should be grateful for. Like, they should have lost that game 5-1.
Okay, fair enough. It's been a little bit of an upside down situation here, at least as far as our predictions are concerned, for some of these game ones.
This is why you don't pick sweeps. Is because after game one, you're just like, yeah, we'll see how it goes.
All of my sweeps are still alive, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Mine died immediately with the Edmonton one.
Megan was telling me last night that up until the Avs game, every one of her series winners lost game one. I was like, ooh, rough start.
Can't win them all right?
Right.
Yeah, well, so maybe the most surprising ones, like we talked about the Avs already. The Edmonton game, they end up dropping game one to LA because Mike Smith has a gigantic target behind him that he doesn't know how to stop anything.
You're kidding. A guy whose entire career has gone like that, but played 9 good games, suddenly played poorly at the start of the playoffs. I'm floored. Can't believe it.
Still, you do wonder what Edmonton can do there.
You know what's really funny to me about Mike Smith's career is that he has a .929 career save percentage in the postseason, and in Edmonton it's .892.
Jeez.
Like, he's been, and it's a limited number of games,
Of course,
admittedly, but
a lot of it's probably carried by that Yotes run in, what was that, 12 or 11?
Yeah. And even the Calgary series that he lost to Colorado, he had a .917 and was the only good Flames player that whole series.
Sure.
I just thought it was. I just think it's funny that you keep like dunking on Mike Smith, and I'm like, he's he's okay. Like,
you mean Edmonton gave money to
the Edmonton thing? Like,
do it anymore?
He gets, like he's like been like a solid goalie in his career, and like his limited playoff career, he's been really good, and then he gets to Edmonton and he's just brutally bad. Like, just nothing works for them. They can't make a good decision.
But I mean, like,
it's very funny to me.
His career has been I okay.
Yeah.
Like, at best, it's been okay.
Did you know he has a .912 career save percentage, and Marc-Andre Fleury has a .913?
Not surprised.
I think that says more about Fleury than it does Mike Smith.
Me too. Yeah,
I mean,
100%.
But
if you're opening the Fleury door, not a great look for game one for many.
Well, yeah.
Who is, by the way, a .911 goaltender in the postseason in his career?
Who, Fleury?
Yeah.
Oh, dude. I think it was Rudo who said it last week. The way to have success in the playoffs with Marc-Andre Fleury and their team is put him on the bench.
Yep.
Since 2008, every team that has had success in the playoffs with Marc-Andre Fleury, with the exception of the miracle run the first year in Vegas, has had success in the playoffs with Marc-Andre Fleury as their backup goaltender.
The last Pittsburgh Cup year, he played 15 games, but yeah.
But ultimately was not playing for that cup win.
Right. So, yeah, but back to Mike Smith. I agree with you. I think that says a little bit more about Fleury than it does Smith. But my whole point with the Smith stuff, because I probably do go a little bit.
I mean, I find it, like, I think it's hilarious. Like, it's like, because we all like have those guys that, for whatever reason, we're just like, every time this guy gets brought up, is like my intro, like the door is open for me to style dunk on those.
He's like my new, and I didn't really have a problem with this guy, but like, I see him as like Cam Ward, where like every now and then Mike Smith does something.
Entire career out of one great season.
Right. Like, he had the year in Arizona where he was phenomenal. I mean, phenomenal. Handling the puck. I mean, just standing on his head every night, making plays all over, the ice to the extent that a goaltender can. And he had the edge. He would get into it after whistles, giving guys jabs and all stuff. So he has this reputation of like, a gamer and he's just so good and he's so big. And, he's not afraid to mix it up. It's like, no, the dude's really just kind of an average goalie with an anger problem. Like, I don't know, spend more time in practice stopping pucks than shooting them at the net. Like, I'm not sure what to tell you at this point. It's just, and every year he gets into the playoffs ever since the run with the Coyotes. And AJ's right. Like, he was good that year in Calgary. But also, once you got past game 2, 3, I mean, the Avs just kind of
a non-factor for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And
he was the only reason that game 4 went into overtime. Because
you're correct. I forgot game. I thought I was thinking that was game 3. You're right.
They put like 50 some odd shots on him, and he was the only reason the Flames did not get bodied. Great, but he still lost that game.
Right. And he just kills me because every year people are like, you know what? This is the year we went out and got Mike Smith. So this is the year he gets back to 2011 Mike Smith in his age 41 season. And he goes on these small stretches, and Edmonton media, literally, I laughed out loud when I think it was Mark Spector tweeted like Mike Smith's numbers over 4 games. Like, he's 3-1-0 with a .970 save percentage. Does this change your opinion of Mike Smith? I was like, 4 games. The guy's 40. He's been in the league since his mid-20s. And you're asking me if 4 games changed my opinion on who he is? No, he's still Mike Smith.
Okay.
I love that Mike Smith, the guy whose name sounds like a placeholder of a name because you can't come up with a real one, has put in a career as a placeholder goaltender. Talk about living up to your name in every way imaginable.
This is like the first version of NHL 12 where you could actually do the draft and they just had made up people that you could draft.
Yeah.
Average all statistics.
That's
Mike
right.
Smith.
And you're like, yeah, Mike Smith, that's a real guy.
Yeah.
That guy works at the post office. Stop.
The other big, the Edmonton LA game wasn't a blowout, but there were 2 other big blowouts: Toronto, Tampa Bay, Minnesota, St. Louis. You guys can go to whichever one you think is more interesting.
I mean, look, I'm really not draw too many strong conclusions of game 1s, because
I think especially that Toronto Tampa Bay series, that is a mega fluke of a game. But
I don't and I look, I'm the one that picked the Maple Leafs to come out of that series for a reason. I think like Jack Campbell is like you're kind of just praying that this goes well,
that it holds together.
Yeah, exactly. But I do like, again, like I said it in our preview video. I've talked to you guys about it off air. I just don't think that the Lightning have it this year. They're weaker. They're so much weaker at the bottom of their forward core. They're a little bit weaker at the bottom of their defense. And Vasilevsky has to be spectacular right now, because I just don't think Tampa Bay is just like, they're a good team. They've got great high-end talent. But I think the depth that made them so scary the last couple of years, like, you look at it, Yanni Gord is gone. Tyler Johnson is gone. Blake Coleman is gone. Barclay Goodrow is gone. Matthew Joseph is gone. Like, it's just too much. It's just too much. And Braden Point has played down this year. And, like, Brandon Hagel on his own, just wasn't a Nick Paul. These guys just haven't quite been enough to elevate them to previous levels. And I just don't think that I felt like they just didn't have it coming in, and that I think they're gonna give them a really good series. I think it's gonna be a really fun one to watch. They're back-to-back champs for a reason. Like, that's a team. Like, you saw Victor Hedman make multiple, like, major mistakes in game 1 where you're like, that's Victor Hedman. Like, he's not gonna have the entire
series look like that.
Yeah, like he's not going to give just freebies away all series long. There are going to be games where those guys are on, and they're like Steven Stamkos flubs one on the back door with a completely open net, and you're just like, come on.
Nikita Kucherov passed up on like 3 shots from like in the slot.
Was horrific in game 1, and you're like, dude, their best players let them down the most. I don't believe in them because of their depth, but they got blown out in game 1 because their best players just didn't show. They had a 5-minute power play, and you couldn't even tell.
I expected game 1 to go not quite like that, but I expected Toronto to come out. You know, they have a narrative they're trying to overcome. They know that what an unlucky draw in the first round. Regardless of how you feel about Tampa this year, like drawing the back-to-back champs in round 1 is like
never a good feeling.
Yeah. And the only thing that I think, and it's not even a bad thing for the Leafs, but like if there's any one team in this playoffs who isn't going to be rattled by getting their doors blown off in a game 1, it's a team like Tampa that, you know, been there, done that. I think tonight will be really indicative of how the rest of that series is going to go. If it's another kind of like convincing Toronto win where they just straight outplay them, then I'm maybe with AJ where it's like Tampa just doesn't have it. But it's really hard to bet against that team. If they come back out tonight, have a great bounce back performance, Vasilevsky's good, Kucherov gets a goal, you know, Victor Hedman settles back down, and they steal one on the road, then to me, it's back to a 50-50 coin flip. But yeah, either way, like AJ said, I will absolutely be dialed into that one tonight and the rest of the. I'm glad they're on Colorado's off night.
Let's do this series really quickly to wrap up period 2 here. Worst series so far, Calgary, Dallas. What a horrible hockey game.
I was going to say, AJ last night on Twitter was like, oh, this Avs Nashville game is the worst game we've seen of the game 1 so far. I was like,
yeah, I mean, it just
Dallas, Calgary.
Yeah, the game was a 1-0 game though, and you're one bounce away from anything.
I know.
Versus an absolute blowout of a game. But dude,
a horrible hockey game can be fun.
You're down 1-0, and you muster up 3 shots on goal with multiple third period power plays.
Yikes.
Jesse might be right, man. They may not even want to be here. They might just be like, we don't want any part of this.
Get us out of here. This was not on the itinerary.
Yeah, the only ones that want to be there are Dallas's goalies, where they're just like,
please.
Yeah.
These guys are absolutely getting knives to chase these guys around after games.
Or bare minimum, like a summer of free dinners. Like, holy hell. Poor Jake Ottinger.
That dude's golfing for free. Okay. Okay. We are brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. Use code DNVR when you sign up for a new account. You can bet $5 on any NBA playoff game. Don't even have to get the bet correct, and you get $150 in free bets to bring back. And if you're feeling hot, if you're feeling spicy, you can bet on the NHL playoffs. You got Boston, Carolina, you got Toronto, Tampa Bay, you got St. Louis, Minnesota, and you got Edmonton, LA all today. So pick your winners, make some cash. You can always get adventurous with the prop bets if you like. That's always a fun way to get into some games that I know some of you might not care that much about the other playoff series. A little bit of DraftKings in there can make it a whole lot more interesting to watch sometimes. So head on over to DraftKings, check all of that out. They have amazing odds boosts every single day that you can use too. You must be 21 or older, Colorado only. Other terms, restrictions, and conditions apply. To DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. And of course, if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. If you don't want to gamble and you're just interested in watching a bunch of hockey and chilling on the couch, then head on over to Lightshade. Get yourself some THC products to couch lock yourself to hours and hours and hours of amazing hockey. You can jump over there today, one of their 11 different locations in the Denver metro area. So be sure to jump on that one. You can also Get a number of amazing products, including Ripple, a fast-acting dissolvable, hits 2 times faster than your leading gummy, starts absorbing within 10 minutes, so you can depend on a consistent experience every time. They have a bunch of products. It's flavorless powders that you can pour in your drink or stick it in some brownie batter and make yourself an edible. Either way, it's super easy. It doesn't taste like anything. It's a great way to consume your THC. They also have their quick sticks if you want to just dump some on your tongue.
Is this the Mike Smith of products?
It's very
It's like anything.
It's invisible. You never really notice it. And afterward, how high does Mike Smith get you, though? I mean, I feel like not that high.
He brings a lot of joy every night. I mean, they're never boring. Say what you will about the guy, but he's never boring.
The game-winning goal was the most exciting part of that entire game.
That whole sequence was absurd.
You can use the code DNVR online at lightshade.com to get 25% off non-sale items. So be sure to use the code. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Open up to you guys. Which series do you want to talk about that we haven't mentioned yet?
We still have a couple of things that we got to get to before we want to do that. Because
Okay.
we have a couple of shout outs that we want to give to.
Oh, yeah. Today, I forgot.
On today's podcast. Lucas Wadia, 40th birthday. And
Let's
I probably
go.
butchered his last name, so I'm sorry about that. But happy 40th birthday. You can blame your wife for this happening to you. And then a big shout out to our guy Dylan, who started some pretty intense chemo treatments on Monday this week. We just want to wish him the best of luck in all of that. And we are sending all of our good vibes that direction, as is the rest of the DNVR Avalanche community, because y'all are good people. And Dylan, big fan. So we wanted to give both of them shout outs today.
It is also my sister's birthday. So
Nice.
happy birthday to baby Rudo sis.
I'll say happy birthday, Ruda.
Yeah, there we go.
Nice.
There we go.
Well played. Well played.
Got him.
I was just going to say, I was going to just answer. There was a question in the chat about, does Newhook go in tomorrow if Cogliano can't? I'm not going to
of what got said.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not going to speculate on lineups anymore for the rest of this series, but going based on what Jared Bednar said today, no, I don't think Alex Newhook is the replacement for Cogliano. I think that's a different pool of guys that they are pulling from. So if it's purely just Cogliano's out and they're going to plug someone into that spot and keep everything else the same, I'm probably expecting LOC.
I would say though, it would be really easy to put Newhook on that third line and put Abe Kubel on your fourth.
Sure.
Like it would be really easy to do that.
It's what I would do. That's for sure.
It is also what I would do. So
I also
given-
wouldn't have
given
wouldn't have
what
done
he
it
said,
right.
you know,
Yeah.
it
That
sure
spot
felt-
screams LOC. For
yeah,
sure.
it felt like the wink and gun at LOC, where
Yeah.
you're just like, okay, yeah, we got you. Minnesota St. Louis, I think is interesting just because of like the goaltending matchup. But I talked to some people at the game last night, and I thought that they all felt like Colorado has to be careful if it ends up being St. Louis, and that's a round 2 matchup. And I just like, I get the firepower thing. I get that they've got a lot of scores. I just don't think that I don't like Ville Husso. I think that's we'll see, but I just defensively, I just don't think they're good enough, man. Like I don't think they're good enough. I think they're soft. They go against everything that has been St. Louis's identity for so long, and I really just don't. I don't know. I still don't know that. I still don't know that the Blues are going to get past the Wild, because I think the Wild are going to come out and play a
This
much
series
better
is
hockey game.
Far from over, for sure.
And I don't know, man. The Wild play a pretty punishing game, and I'm curious to see how that holds up.
There was some goonery for sure at the end of this Nashville Colorado game, but that Minnesota game was I mean, that felt like old school hockey.
Jared Spurgeon not getting suspended.
Yeah,
that was pretty wild. I didn't.
That's
a
pristine example of how they punished injury.
Yep.
So, I'm curious on your guys's thoughts on a couple things. One, it sounds like they're going back with Fleury tonight. I don't have an issue with that. We talked a little bit. Maybe it was on the Sunday bonus pod, AJ. I don't remember about platoons really not working in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's hard.
So I want your guys' thoughts on that. But then I'm also curious just to hear what you guys think. I feel like we saw a lot more penalties called in the first 2 nights of the Stanley Cup playoffs than we normally do.
And it felt like the Colorado Nashville game was
the exception.
Yeah, it was not
weren't that many. Yeah,
and
watching like major cross checks get just be like, well, that's fine.
So in that Minnesota game, you're right. Like they play a very physical, punishing style. But if that series is going to be officiated the way it was in game 1, they are in trouble. That was just a nonstop parade to the penalty box.
The Buchnevich penalty shot was genuinely a shocking call.
Yeah.
I could not believe that got called in the NHL playoffs. And I don't think it was a penalty at all, if you're asking me. But especially that first day, and then maybe it's just because I could watch the games more because the Avs weren't playing. It felt significantly up from the regular season. Like, not just a little bit. Like, it felt like they were calling everything.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I nerd out and I tell you that's...
I know.
There are more penalties, but
it felt like a lot more than 6%.
Yeah. 6% is a really small number, and that was not 6%. That was all of the percents.
Well, it was just like every season now we hear people talk about like, oh, I just wish they'd call it the way they did in the regular season. And, why does the rule book change in the playoffs? And to me, I've always kind of been on the side of, the players change the way that they play in the playoffs as well. But for a lot of those game 1s, and again, I don't really feel this way about the Avs game, it felt like the players changed the way they played and the refs called it the same way they did in the regular season. And I actually think that was one of the things that caused a lot of problems for Minnesota. So I'll be really curious to see how they come out tonight.
The Blues are great on the power play. So
don't
do that.
Man, I have so many thoughts about this because St. Louis, and I've noticed this now. I went back and looked. David Perron scores from that same spot with a really interesting play. They don't actually pass that puck through the seam. They try to get that puck kicked out to Perron after a shot on net, whether it is the puck going directly out to that side of the ice or in a scramble, they try to kick it out to him. They try to draw as much focus to the front of the net as possible and then kick the puck back outside. And it was just crazy to me that it worked almost identically 3 times. I thought the amount of penalties called in that game was just really interesting because Minnesota really seemed like they wanted to lean into that. We're going to play really heavy, punishing, physical, playoff hockey. And it ended up with just them in the box a bunch all night.
So for last night, the Rangers in 3 overtimes got 1 power play.
What Pittsburgh get?
4. Pittsburgh, Washington only had 5 power plays between them. The 1-0 game had 10 power plays with an even 5-5 split.
Whoa.
And then obviously last night it was 9 power plays with a 5-4 split, and some of those were
not.
I mean, the Josh Manson getting the only roughing call at the end of the second period was straight up about Nazem Kadri. Just like Luke Cunnin just like goes like crash test dummy into Kadri, and it was just fine.
Watching the third period, and Ryan Johansson just decides he wants to be part of the WWE with Cale Makar.
Well, on the other side of that, while they were going up ice, Philip Forsberg cross-checks Devon Taves in the back And then Devon Taves reaches out and yanks on his foot as Forsberg was trying to skate away. And I was like, what the hell is going on right now? And then Cale Makar reveals himself to be an absolute psycho. Because you look at his face while that's going on with Johansson, and he looks like he's having more fun murking
like a schoolgirl,
than any time, than in any goal he's ever scored or any game they've ever won or anything he's ever done. And I'm like, it's a good thing that dude plays hockey, because if he didn't, he might be murdering people. Like Cale Makar, low-key kind of scares me at this point.
Does anybody have a clip of that? Because I never actually saw it.
I could pull one, but I don't have one at the ready.
Yeah. No sweat.
The baby-faced, rosy-cheeked serial killer. That's the alternate timeline for Cale Makar.
Yeah, dude. I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden he's like, this rough stuff is the most fun I've had in years.
That Pepsi commercial that dropped today was pretty good. I enjoyed that. What?
It killed me, man. When he grabs the glove and he just throws it across the room, and you're just like, that's what's up. Take that, Gabe.
Yeah, no, I thought that was good.
I did. Why do you look like a baby?
Yeah.
Like every time Rudo shaves his face, that's exactly. I'm like, why do you look like a baby?
I
think. Yeah. Just switch computers. That's all. Okay. Which series have I forgotten? Carolina Boston. I guess we didn't really talk about that one at all.
That series exists.
It does.
Watching those two teams in the playoffs.
LA, Edmonton, I refuse to care about, because neither one of those teams is going to be part of Colorado's path, so I don't care. Washington, Florida, I still don't care, although it is funny that like there's all this talk about like the curse of the President's Trophy, and I think ESPN showed a thing last night that said 5 of the last 6 President's Trophy winners who lost game 1 in the first round lost those series. And so it's like we're 1 game into the postseason. The Panthers just had by far the best regular season in franchise
history.
And it's already like you guys are like heavy is the head that wears the crown, right? And Colorado's like, we're not President's Trophy winners anymore. We don't have to put up with this shit. Nobody's asking us about this anymore.
That's a stat that, like, obviously it's one of those things that in one instant that trend changes, but that is an interesting stat. Like that, just anecdotally. Thank you. Just that's pretty nuts.
And then you look back at it, and 5 of the last 6 President's Trophy winners to lose game 1 is over a span of like 20 years. And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that is the case. Yes. So it was it's interesting, but you're also just like,
right.
Cool. Sure. Like there's a whole series to go. But I will say the one thing that I regret us not talking more about in our series preview when it came to Panthers Caps was just everybody just ignoring the fact that the Panthers just don't have a ton of playoff experience. Right. And we've had to listen to the last several years, people drag the Avs and be like, no, I'm not going to pick them because they don't have the experience.
Right.
And then just gave.
You killed your mic.
Mike died. And I'll bet you this is really passionate. And
yeah, he's going in hard right now. And he.
To this point, though, I actually remember hearing, I think it was the TNT panel like a month ago talking about all of this. And they were like, yeah, Colorado, but they haven't done it. I don't know. I just look at a team like Calgary, team like Florida. And I just think that those, and I like paused when they were saying that. I was like, okay, you're not picking Colorado because they don't have the playoff experience. Okay. But your examples of teams you can buy into are Calgary and Florida. Calgary, a team that the last time they were in the playoffs got ran out of the building by the Avs in 5 games, and
Yeah.
Florida, who hasn't won a
4 in a
playoff
row
series since they lost to the Avs in 1996. Okay.
Whatever you say.
All that logic tracks. Avs, not enough playoff experience, so we can't pick them. Calgary, Florida, I'm all
Look,
in. Like,
You have to understand, the Avs are a boring, bland team, Jesse.
Right.
All right.
you know what, Rudo? You are
They don't
correct.
get the people going, okay?
You can't be mad about it.
I want this conversation to go away so badly. I think everybody has to let the bland thing go.
Why?
If the Avs win the cup, he has to get a tattoo that says "I'm the bland one."
Here for it.
So, and that's why I don't have a problem with people being like, if you're actually pissed about it, then like,
Yeah, shut up. Stop.
right? Yeah, I don't
Stop
know.
being mad.
But-
It's just a fun little thing.
Right. But I don't know. I kind of like that Avs fans like took that as a slight. I hope the Avs did as well.
I would be so shocked if the Avs noticed it all.
Oh, I'm positive they saw it.
Would you rather be bland or the hot girl with no personality?
So here's the other funny thing about both of those comments. And
What? I've been the hot girl with no personality my whole life. I would like to be something different. Just for a day, just to see what it's like.
As I was saying, the 2 people that made those comments are a Minnesota Wild writer and then a guy that I didn't know this until like 2 weeks ago. Greg Wyshynski is a lifelong, like, diehard New Jersey Devils fan.
How did you not know that? He's not even shy about it.
I don't know. I'm not like on his Tinder profile. Like, I don't know. I didn't know that his fandom was tied to early 2000s.
Is tied to watching Patrick Waugh take
Right.
Marty Brodeur's lunch money when it absolutely had to
Games
happen.
6 and 7. Yep.
Yup.
And so, like, you sit there and it's like, okay, that makes those comments make so much more sense. I had Detroit lower in my power rankings than probably most people would have for a lot of the year. One, it's because you gave up 10 goals in a game 3 times in one season, and like you're just near the bottom if you're doing that. But 2, like, I just know that subconsciously I just have like a blech for the Red Wings. Like, it's just hard for me to give them credit. So like, I get it.
Gross.
Right. I get a
That's how I feel about the entire state of Minnesota.
bro. They have the Herb Brooks ice facility out there. I don't know what it's officially called now, but it's like 9 sheets under one roof. It's just like unbelievable facility. And even that, I'm like, it's okay. It's fine. It's whatever. Like, it's so amazing, but it's in Minnesota, so like, whatever.
Yep.
I've seen better.
Confirmed.
My hatred of that state means that I'm destined to die there someday.
Whoa,
I'm gonna be like passing.
let's end this
through.
show. Jesus.
I'm gonna be like passing through, and it's just gonna be my day, and I'm gonna get to whatever afterlife might exist, and I'm gonna be so mad about it.
Minnesota!
Yeah.
No!
I demand an extra hour so that I can go die in Canada or something. God damn it.
Get me to the border.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, Dino.
Yeah. We love all of our Minnesota peeps, but we don't have to love Minnesota. I mean,
True.
Blaze is a Minnesota peep.
Yeah, he is.
We
But,
put up with him.
And we're okay with him.
Yeah, it's fine.
He's fine. His Minnesota roots, man, we live with it. Okay, we're gonna wrap this show up before we piss off anyone else in our fan base. Thank you, everyone. Excuse me, for watching, listening, however you consume the podcast. We appreciate all of y'all a ton. Back tomorrow, pregame, watch along, postgame, the whole 9 for the Avs. Until then, you can catch us watching. I mean, I'm gonna watch all 4 games. Let's be honest. That's why I have multiple monitors. But pick one. Pick a game you want to watch tonight. Playoffs are full bore. It's the fun time of the year. So jump in on all that. We are going to get out of here. We will talk to you tomorrow.